Hey, everybody. Sorry about that rundown, that clock running a few seconds past what it was supposed to. I was trying to check something. And so we're here. We are live on two platforms right now, you guys. We're live on Twitter, Periscope, and we're also live on YouTube. So checking over my shoulder. I think we're good with audio. Let me know. I know we beat that drum. Hey, is the audio working? So I think it is. I see it, and I believe that I see it here too. So if there's any changes, if the audio goes funky, let me know and I'll work on it. So, Matt's telling me it's all good. All right. So let's get going, you guys. So here we are. It is 7:07 on a Friday night, and we're talking about another tropical system. This is Tropical Depression number 9 that formed officially at 5 o'clock this afternoon. National Hurricane Center is also going to be watching this very closely as we head through the weekend, and so will we. So we're going to ramp up our coverage a little bit with this. This is expected to become Tropical Storm Umberto tomorrow. It is also expected to become a hurricane. However, I emphasize that it is on the current path, not expected to directly impact the United States. We will see some peripheral impacts, and I'm going to get into all of that, but this is not a scenario that we got with Dorian, but there are some similarities to this particular track that we did get with Dorian, but this one is expected to stay much further away from the Carolinas than Dorian did. The bad news is for the folks in the northwestern Bahamas who do not need any more rain or wind and are under a tropical storm warning, because this tropical depression is generally headed towards Abaco and Grand Bahama in the next 24 hours. There's a tropical storm warning there. Now, there is expected to be some forward speed, so hopefully this thing will get away from the Bahamas sooner than later. It is also expected to get close to Florida tomorrow. It is currently about 280 miles from the southern tip of Florida, give or take 280, and it's generally heading towards the west-northwest over these next couple of hours. So here's from the last 24 hours. This was the potential tropical cyclone that everybody was going nuts for. Everybody hated the name. It's not a new distinction. The National Hurricane Center actually has been calling systems that are not quite a tropical depression or a storm potential tropical cyclones. And the reason why they do that is they're trying to give the public more time to get prepared for what will be a depression or a storm or a hurricane that could be threatening the United States. So anything that is an organized tropical system, if it has a closed low, it is a cyclone. I've seen that on social media too. People are saying it's not a cyclone, it's a depression, it's a storm. No, it's a cyclone. It's technically a cyclone. We call them different names in different parts of the world. Here in the United States, we call tropical depressions, if they have winds less than 38 miles an hour, a depression. If they're more than that, they're tropical storms. If they're more than 74 mile per hour sustained winds, they're hurricanes. They're called typhoons in different parts of the world. In Asia, they're called whirlybirds. I've heard them called all kinds of names, but the official nomenclature is a cyclone. So it's not wrong to call these cyclones when they become a closed low, which this did at 5 o'clock today. And one of the features that it was really interesting to watch this system, look at all the deep thunderstorm activity. You would think that the low, the actual tropical depression, is somewhere down in here, but the low is technically right here. A lot of the energy and a lot of the storms are displaced to the east, and that's because it's interacting with wind shear. There's winds coming in from the west, we've got winds coming in from the east, and then look at this, we've got some mid and high level winds right here. Look at all these thunderstorms that are blowing up into, are the cirrus clouds, not thunderstorms, that are blowing up into Georgia, North Florida, and even into South Carolina. So there's a fair amount of hostile wind here. However, it is expected to move into a more favorable area for it to get stronger, and that's why the official distinction from the Hurricane Center upgrades this to Tropical Storm Umberto tomorrow, and then we could be seeing this upgraded to Hurricane Umberto by Monday. A look at the tropical storm warnings. They are up for the northwestern Bahamas. You can see those here. And then there is a tropical storm watch from the Jupiter Inlet northward to the Flagler-Volusia County line. And of course, Volusia County is where Daytona Beach is. Flagler County is where Palm Coast is. Jupiter, by the way, is in Palm Beach County for those of you that want to know the county seats. And it looks like we could see those extended a bit into North Florida, maybe tonight or tomorrow. And likely we'll see some of that across parts of Georgia and South Carolina as the system tracks off towards the northwest. So it has picked up speed, moving northwest at 8. Remember, Dorian stalled over the Bahamas for about 30 hours. This system much faster, much weaker than what Dorian was. And there's not a lot of opportunity for it to get into major hurricane strength. So that's something else I've been seeing people concerned with. Just how strong will this get? It's likely going to get stronger, but a couple of things are going in the U.S.'s favor in terms of this not getting stronger than what's forecast. One, it's going to be moving much faster than Dorian did. Typically, when we deal with rapid intensifying systems or cyclones, they have big, open, massive ocean to deal with and to soak up all of this energy source that they collect from the Atlantic Ocean. That's not going to be so much the case because of the fast movement of the depression. Also, the wind shear is expected, what limits the activity, is expected to stay in play at least through tomorrow, and then it's expected to get picked up by a mid-latitude trough, which I'll show you in a second, that would kick it back out into the ocean and away from the U.S. So I don't think we're going to be dealing with a rapidly intensifying cyclone. You never want to say that because we don't have good data and we don't have good modeling that helps guide us that there could be a rapid intensification. But looking at the environment and the atmosphere right now, I don't think that will be an issue. We'll see, but it's certainly going to get close enough that we could see some of these outer impacts across the state of Florida. And by tomorrow, it's going to be roughly 160 miles off the coast of Florida. Now, with Dorian, the center of Dorian was about 100 miles. So this one will be a little further away from Florida. And then as I speed this up just a bit, and then let me drag my cursor up here, and we'll see how far it is going to be from Georgia and the Carolinas. This too, we think will be a little further away than what we saw with a Dorian scenario, which technically made landfall near Cape Fear. So this one, again, under this scenario, would be about 160 miles away from like the Savannah area. Same thing for South Carolina, about 160, and then even for, well, let me show North Carolina too so you guys get some love also. So looking about just under 200 miles. So remember, most of the bad weather with this particular depression is stacked up on the east side, so away from land and away from the U.S., I should say, and then picked up by this trough, and then really picks up speed out back into the Atlantic. Still would be a hurricane on Wednesday with winds at 85 miles an hour. Now, the recon data, we look a lot at this a lot of times to try and get some clues on what's going on inside the cores of these systems. The hurricane hunters continue to fly in this. They have another flight tonight, and on this particular run, which was the last one they did, the pressure was 1,010, and technically the official reading from the Hurricane Center as of 5 o'clock was 1,009. And I apologize if you guys hear that I don't know if you can hear it. There's a vacuum cleaner going on upstairs above me, so the cleaning crew is up on the third floor. So I apologize if you hear that. It's intermittent buzzing. That's what that is. Okay, so here's our potential storm winds as we head through this weekend. So most of Florida would not starting to be feeling the breezy weather until late tomorrow and into Sunday, but there is the possibility that could happen a little later tomorrow as well. The timing in terms of what the National Hurricane Center says, this would put us anywhere around 8 a.m. on Sunday, where we'd start to see some of those tropical storm force winds in gusts scooting along parts of Florida and then up into Georgia and the Carolinas. And then I'll put this a little further out. And then you can see, of course, the hurricane force winds still staying well away from the southeastern U.S. and not a player for the Carolinas directly, but indirectly. And, you know, a lot of people have been also saying on social media, why are we talking about this? Because it's going to be close, you guys. And we are going to get some peripheral impacts across the state of Florida and the southeast. And until we see this thing turn away from the United States, we're going to continue to track it. So this particular model, this is the GFS. It's a wind model. I have this starting at noon tomorrow. So these would be gusts. These would not be sustained winds. So Miami would get anywhere from 15, 16 miles an hour. We'd see about 25 mile per hour winds in West Palm Beach, 29 in Fort Pierce. Daytona Beach would be about 25, 26 miles an hour. And then this is, of course, the actual, would probably be Tropical Storm Umberto at this time. And this would start to pull towards the north. And then as we get into Sunday, we would see Daytona maybe 20, 25 miles, a 15 mile per hour wind potentially thereafter. Hang on one second. Let me take this full screen for you guys. And let me show you the steering currents. So this is the water vapor, and we talked an awful lot about this when we were looking at what was going on with Dorian. So a couple of things, again, very similar pattern in terms of steering currents. We have our powerful, whoops, grabbed the wrong thing. We have our, let's see here, where is it? We have our cold front right here. We have an upper level low that's actually technically a little bit further back this way. It's a little closer to Texas. And then we have our big ridge of high pressure. This is the Bermuda high that we talked about. That is what the main driver, one of the main drivers in tropical features this time of the year. So this big ridge sits here. Here's the depression down in here. And as the cold front pushes south, it's going to help lift and turn the depression towards the north. So we should start to see that movement like this. And then as that cold front puts the squeeze, like it did with Dorian, we'll see it turn back out to sea. So this is, again, the water vapor looking a really distinct here. This is what I used with Dorian. I kind of put the modeling aside and just did good old-fashioned meteorology just to kind of show you what was going on in the atmosphere, because a lot of times it can get really frustrating when you're trying to, forecast these things, and sometimes the modeling is not in agreement with what you want it to do. So sometimes you just throw all that out the window and you show the good old-fashioned atmosphere, because that's what drives these things. And so the confidence is very high that this will turn away from the United States. A little bit unsure about the timing, but we still think it's going to be sometime on late Sunday or Monday. So remember, this is generally going to be heading towards the United States tomorrow and Sunday. So we're going to be feeling those impacts, the peripheral impacts across Florida and Georgia and into the Carolinas after that. The tropical storm conditions, by the way, are expected in the northwestern Bahamas as soon as tonight and tomorrow, hampering the efforts, of course, which the last thing they need, those folks just need a break. But at least this will be a minimal tropical storm as it passes over the northwestern Bahamas. They still could get some localized heavy rain. We also are anticipating up to 2 to 5 inches in the southeastern U.S. Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina need to have a tropical plan in place. The threat continues to get less and less for North Carolina. You're not out of the woods for sure. But the Hurricane Center believes that turn will be strong enough and pronounced enough that direct impact should be somewhat limited. Okay, so here's a look at our high resolution model. This is our 4 kilometer RPM model. Oh, gosh, I can't think. So here's how it plays out as we head into tonight and tomorrow. So some of those outer showers will start to rotate on the outer periphery of the depression, starting to see that fill in across the state of Florida tomorrow. Some of that rotation, again, if you can't see it, once this stops, I'll show you where the rotation is. There it is. Okay, so it's right in here. So it would be about 150 miles off the coast of Florida. But again, look at all the bad weather to the east of the center. Great news for Florida, great news for the Carolinas. That's how we want it. But definitely going to have the possibility to bring in some heavy rain, especially along the eastern coastline of Florida. So the modeling tonight gives you 1 to 2 inches. And as we head up, let me see that stop before I wanted it to. So 1 to 2 inches on average across the interior of the state. Orlando, maybe 2 inches. Same thing for Vero. Miami, about 1 inch. So not bad. And then as we head up in time, of course, we'll look at the Carolinas, where you'll get a little bit more of the impacts with the rain, especially as we get into the second half of the forecast. Into Monday, we could see a couple inches here. Then actually, this product is updated since the last time I did this. This was showing about 6 inches in Myrtle Beach a couple hours ago. So again, tweaking the numbers as the track changed from the National Hurricane Center. The modeling picked up on that and has changed the rain. This might be a little underdone, so I want you guys to stick around and stay up to date on the forecast, because I do think rain and flash flooding could be a big problem with this guy, with this system as we head into the weekend. Hang on, let me go back to the infrared and I'll get that up, because I see a couple people just joined in as well, and then I'll take a quick look and see if anyone's got any questions, and if not, we'll take this down and we'll have another update tonight. Let me take that full screen so you guys can see that while I check out what any questions that you guys might have. Let's see, hang on one second. No, okay, let me look over here. Oh, I see Sandy from YouTube is on. Hey, Sandy, you finally caught me on one of my lives. She's one of our loyal YouTubers, and she caught us. And let's see. Yeah, the Bahamas definitely don't need this. Anything coming behind the storm? Okay, let's see. Stefan is asking that. You know what? That's a great question. So let me pull this out and let me show you. So there is 2 features. Whoops. There's 2 of them. Out here, I got to go way out, and there they are. And currently, the path on both of these is still away. These are these type of cyclones, when they're this far out, or systems. These aren't cyclones yet. They are about 7 to 10 days away from any type of impact. So here's one, and there's another down here. The general trend, yes, is heading towards, and I can't flip my arrow. I apologize, but the general trend here, I can do this though. The general trend would be this way. and this one is generally this way as well. So I apologize. There's a flash frame in there too, but Sandy's got no questions. Okay, but I'm so glad you joined me, Sandy, because you're such a great loyal viewer of our YouTube channel. So I'm glad that you are live with me tonight. So yeah, and to answer that question, there's 2 more systems out there, 7 to 10 days from any potential threat to the United States. So a long time to watch it. A lot of things can happen. We're keeping an eye on those. And the National Hurricane Center officially gives those two systems about a 40% chance of developing over the next couple of days. So I'm going to watch that. Of course, we're going to be watching it, and we will continue our coverage. We're going to continue to have updates this weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to be in or not. I probably will be at some point, but Stephanie Lauber, our weekend meteorologist, will be in. Potentially Mike Linden will be back in tomorrow for some coverage, but we definitely, the team will be here covering you for sure for the duration until this starts to pull away from the United States. Okay, you guys, I think that's going to do it. If you had a question, I didn't answer it, I'll go back and look, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. Oh, I got to do my little update here, my social media handle update. So make sure you check us out on Facebook as well. That is at facebook.com/myradar, Twitter, where we are now, of course, MyRadarWX, Instagram at MyRadar, and of course right here on YouTube at MyRadar as well. We're trying to get our subscriptions up to 100,000. People keep asking about that phone. We get the phone away when we reach 100K. Hey, that should be a t-shirt. We give the phone away when we reach 100K. I like it. Anyway, so make sure you tell your friends about us, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and make sure you tap the bell so you can find out the notifications when we are going live and we've dropped videos. Okay, new content. That'll do it for now. You guys have a fantastic Friday, good weekend, and we'll see you back